What is going on, guys? We're here today for our first episode of a series that we think will kind of be like a podcast. And today I'm here with my roommates in medical school here at Mount Sinai. Just trying to have a chill conversation, get to know them a little bit as medical students, as people, their story that got them here, and just share some thoughts with the audience. What's going on, guys? Introduce yourselves. Let's go ahead and start with Rodnell.
What up? My name is Rodnell Busigó Torres. Do you want me to tell my story?
Just introduce yourself. How old are you? Where are you from?
Okay, so I'm 21 years old. I think I'm the youngest from the class. But it was because in high school I graduated like 1 year before. I'm from Puerto Rico, and yeah, first year medical school.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Mateo, go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Cool, yeah. My name's Mateo. I was raised in Toronto, but born in Colombia. I'm 26 years old. Kind of been everywhere. Lived in quite a few places, but now I'm here at Mount Sinai as a first-year medical student, and it's been great.
That's awesome. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, so basically, we ended up as roommates because when we got put together in this chat with everyone that got admitted initially, I was just looking through the names, saw Mateo. There was this intuition that he was Colombian.
It's probably my last name.
True. And then I was like, I have to reach out, and we ended up agreeing to be roommates. Then Rodnell got in, Amari got in as well, that he's not here. But yeah, it's been really nice so far. These people are incredible, and we're just trying to learn a little more about them today. Guys, I want to start with Rodnell, going back to you.
Yeah.
Could you just share a little bit about your story? Where did you grow up? Where are you from? What are the kind of the values that you were raised with? Yeah, just like a little bit of background of how you got here.
Yeah, no problem. So as I mentioned, I'm Puerto Rican. I was born there, grew up there, went to high school there, college, and then made the decision to study here in the United States. And for those who don't know, like Puerto Rico, like us, we have citizenship as United States like residents. So first of all, I didn't have like my first thought was not becoming like to study medicine. It was to study to be a vet. I loved animals. Yeah, it was until before getting to college, I did a summer program. It was basically like shadowing physicians, and it really surprised me how like deep was that connection between the physician, the patient, how the patient like was like in the most vulnerable state, seeking for help, physician, and I saw that like it's gonna sound cringe, but like a magical moment, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that in the future. And I saw a physician like a hero, So, yeah, I went to college, basically like in a major that was pre-vet, but then I changed to microbiology. It was not a specific reason why microbiology. It was the only one that it was my university. I'm from University of Puerto Rico. Maya West is a public university there. And yeah, I basically took all the classes, and it never came to my mind to study here in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, it was always in my mind, like, to study medicine there in Puerto Rico. There's one medical school there that is very well known, Recinto Ciencia Médica. It is like best one because it's like the cheapest one. So that was always my goal, like to go there, but it never came to my mind like, I can go to the United States, because I always thought that was out of my range, out of my potential, because I always thought that people here in the United States were above us Puerto Ricans,
I just want to interrupt you real quick. That's really interesting thought. Do you think that's like a prevalent mindset amongst a lot of Puerto Ricans your age?
100%, because like a lot of Puerto Ricans, they always say, oh, you want to study in the United States, you need like a 520 in the MCAT to compete with those guys. You know, they're invincible. Like, yeah, we cannot compete with those guys.
Gotcha.
And there's always that saying that we are inferior. And yeah, like that was my first thought that, okay, I'm going to study Puerto Rico and
Gotcha.
get my MD here. And it was not until I did a summer program. It's called SHPAP.
Gotcha.
It was in Columbia Medical School here in New York. And there was basically a dean of diversity. And she talked to us like one-on-one. And she was like, oh, so how do you feel about like applying here, potentially like to go medical school here? I was like, to be honest, like, yeah, it has been great, like the summer program, everything. The only thing like is I don't feel they have the potential like to come here, you know. And she said like, why? And I just said like, okay, like I think that the MCAT is mostly English, you know, and us Puerto Ricans that our first language is Spanish, second language is English. So I was always thinking like the MCAT is gonna be so hard for me, you know, to get like a good grade, good score. And yeah, and she said like, don't worry about that, because us in admissions committee, we see you as a whole person. We value that you have a diverse background, you know. You grew up there in Puerto Rico. We know that the first language is Spanish. We can forgive you as a lower score, because we know that it's difficult to know two languages, you know. So that really encouraged me. I was like, okay, that's really encouraging. Let me just give it a try. Then when I was studying for the MCAT, I was like, my goal score was like 520. Let's do this. Like, it was not like low. I wanted to go like all in. And then, yeah, basically I studied hard, really hard. I finally like get a good score, and then applied to the United States, and
it worked.
Yeah,
we gotta say that it worked.
Yeah,
it did work.
Yeah,
Mateo,
probably one of the smartest guys in our class.
Absolutely, I have to agree with that.
100%.
I want to follow up with one of Rodnell's points, but now with your point of view. He mentioned that a lot of Puerto Ricans his age had this sort of perspective that it was really hard to come study in the U.S. I know your story's a little bit different coming from Canada.
Right.
Do you feel like this mindset also exists amongst Canadians or Canadian students trying to come to the U.S. to study medicine?
So I don't know a lot of Canadians that want to come down to the U.S. to study medicine, because studying medicine here is so expensive.
Right.
And like we don't qualify for like FAFSA or any like government aid.
Right.
Which significantly reduces the pool of schools that you can apply to. But I know that in Canada, because there's only, I believe, 17 medical schools, it's like extremely difficult to get into medical school. I think
That's a small number.
Yeah, if I'm remembering the stats correctly, I think 40% of applicants get into medical school in the United States.
Oh.
And in Canada, it's somewhere around 10%.
Wow.
So I knew that I would need to apply both in Canada and in the United States. And because I went to college in California, I wanted to come back down here. I really enjoyed my time there. And one thing that I don't agree with Canadian admissions or some schools there is that they highly value cars, for example. So for an applicant like Rodnell, whose first language isn't English, it's like the only thing that they look at pretty much is cars. And so then they'll miss out on exceptional applicants, exceptional individuals such as Rodnell, because of this one score in which you need like a high understanding of English. And I mean, English isn't my first language either, even though it's, you know.
That's a great point. I think cars is a challenging section for anyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of if your primary language is English or not. I think a lot of people can agree on that. But I kind of want to track back a little bit. Mateo, introduce yourself, your story, where you're from, everything else.
Oh, yeah. So, I was born in La Ceja, Colombia. It's like a little a little town right outside of Mejía. I lived there until I was about 5 years old, and because of the political situation at the time, it was 2001, and it wasn't very safe back home in Colombia. My parents decided to immigrate to Canada. So we went to Canada, landed in Toronto, where I grew up, and then I guess everything kind of started. My journey started out with soccer. My parents put me in soccer at a really young age, and I really enjoyed it. And like, much like Rodnell, like medicine wasn't like my primary dream. I wasn't a person that was like born and said, "Oh, I want to become a doctor." My dream was to become a professional soccer player. That was what I wanted to do for as long as I could, and it's a dream that I chased for, you know, from the time I was 5 years old until when I came to medical school, pretty much. And throughout that journey, you know, I played on the Canadian youth national team from like under 15s to under 20s. I was able to travel the world a lot for tournaments, and I ended up moving to Germany after high school when I was 18 years old, and I spent a year there in between high school and college, which was a phenomenal experience.
How old were you then?
I was 18 years old. I moved to Germany on my own, to a place where I didn't know the language. So I think that year in Germany was the year that I was able to kind of connect with my parents the most, because I felt like what it felt like to be in a country where you don't speak the language.
Meaning when they came from Colombia to
Canada. Yeah, exactly. So that's when I first started, not when I first started connecting with my parents, but that's when I kind of understood their experience the most. And I mean, our relationship has definitely flourished because of it. But yeah, it was a very challenging year. It was a year where, you know, I grew up a lot, I learned a lot. And then following that, I had the option of staying in Germany and trying to sign professionally, or pursuing an athletic scholarship in a university. And I always had my sights in coming to college in the United States because they give really good scholarships.
Right.
So thankfully, I guess because I was a good player and I had a pretty good CV soccer-wise, I ended up getting a full ride at UC Santa Barbara, which was
big stuff.
The best time of my life. And that's kind of where my interest in medicine started to really spark. I studied biology because I liked science in high school, so I studied biology in college. And then I got to work with an orthopedic surgeon down there because I was mostly interested in sport-related injuries and things like that, of that nature. And then, you know, I ended up doing quite well in my classes, and I said, okay, like I think I can really do this. I think I have a shot at getting into medical school and becoming a doctor. But before I did that, I wanted to complete my dream of playing professionally. So when I graduated from UC Santa Barbara, I actually signed back in Canada, in East Coast Canada, in Halifax, and I played for the Halifax Wanderers for 2 years. And throughout those 2 years, I studied for my MCAT. I, prepared my application and everything, and then I applied, and thankfully, I got into a great school at Mount Sinai.
Absolutely did. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Now, I kind of want to go back to that pre-med experience.
Yeah.
We're all like...
we all love that experience.
We all love that story. What is one thing you sort of told yourself as you were going through that pre-med experience that sort of kept you going? Because, as you know, there's setbacks all the time in that journey, like uncertainties. You don't know if it's working, if you're actually working towards that goal of getting into medical school. What is one thing you told yourselves that sort of kept you going?
You want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So I think it's very important to tell yourself that everything's going to be okay. Like, no matter what, no matter the timing, you're going to get there, and there's going to be a lot of obstacles during the way, especially like pre-med. There's a lot going on, and it's a very toxic environment, to be honest. Like, you go to internet, it's like so competitive and like, yeah. So just trust yourself that you're a unique person, you know. You have a unique story, unique background. Like here's, for example, I have a unique story, a Puerto Rican guy, and this guy has like a very unique story. You too, you have a very unique story. So
Yeah, you didn't tell us your story.
yeah.
Oh, today's about y'all.
So yeah, like just trust that you're a unique person, and that's what the admissions committee are gonna look for, like a unique person that can bring a diverse background to a medical school, because that's what they want, like diverse physicians that can treat like any patient population. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
What about you, Mateo?
I think you should focus on what you enjoy. I mean, obviously, like we all had to take those classes that we didn't really necessarily enjoy, or you had to do some things that were so far out that you didn't really care about. We all have to kind of push through those moments, but I think it's important to follow your passions, to do what you enjoy, because it'll make you stick out as an applicant to get into medical school. And that doesn't have to be like anything crazy at all. Like I know for me, when I was applying to medical school, all the interviews that I went to, none of them asked me like, so what was your score in like your organic chemistry class? Like how was your, like no, no one really cares about that. Obviously you need the grades. That's a given. They don't need to be perfect, but everybody asked me about soccer and asked me about my journey from coming from Colombia. And so I think that like the most important thing is to focus on your strengths, focus on what you enjoy, and really put your entire passion into that, so that you have something to talk about come interview time and come preparing for your application and stuff like that.
Right. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Kind of want to talk about the MCAT a little bit. Kind of going back to that.
Sure.
Lovely memories. But anyways, could you guys tell us like how you approach studying the exam? Be as brief as possible, but just like what resources did you use? What was your strategy? What things would you do differently, and what advice do you have for people going through that at the moment?
Yeah. I think for me, I did it like during I was in college. I was in third year. Yeah, third year. And it was basically I started like in December during that break all the way until May 28th, I remember. May 28th. It was like six months basically.
Not you.
In the break I was like full time, and during the semester I had like 12 credits only. I wanted like a last semester to focus like on studying very hard to the MCAT. And I think the best tip for the MCAT is to practice more than content review 100%. Because for example, I studied like 6 months, only 1 month was content review. And content review is like reviewing the books from Princeton Review or Kaplan, whatever.
Did you do any of that?
I did Princeton Review. I reviewed the books only 1 month and started right away with
like you
practice.
read all the books in 1 month?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
You read all of the books in 1 month.
Oh my God.
Yeah, bro. I was like full time. Like it was break, so I didn't have anything to do. So I was like.
That's crazy, bro.
But the thing is, like, I didn't read it like very like slowly. You know, it was like, okay, I remember this. Let's skip this.
Right.
I remember this.
Gotcha.
Let's skip this. You know, it was like more focused on the things that I didn't know. You know, that's also true. And also, please don't do like papers of review about the
Like
books. Yeah, notes. Don't take notes, because you're never gonna review that again.
I agree. I started taking like so many notes on the psychology like Kaplan book.
Me too.
Took me like a month, the time that it took you to read the whole thing apparently. And then I never went back to those notes, so.
I think I still have them. They're still collecting dust under my bed or something.
I
did
threw
the
them
same
away,
thing.
bro.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So
And then after the books, I started right away with U-World. It's a very good resource. I really recommend it. It's a little bit expensive, but if you have the money, like, it's totally worth it. And yeah, I did all the questions from Your World, and then I switched to AMC. They have like question banks.
Yeah.
And also I did all the practice exams from AMC. There's like 7, I think it is, like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So I did all of them. It sounds like a lot, but you need to look at it like if you're training for a marathon, you know, you're not gonna run a marathon for the first time when it's the day of competition, you know.
Yeah.
You need to run a marathon like a couple times before, so that day in the competition you can do well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the MCAT. The MCAT's a marathon, so it's 7 hours. So yeah, I practiced. I took the practice exams, 7 of them, and it was like basically Saturdays. Spend the whole day taking them and then reviewing them. That's very important, reviewing them.
Right.
And seeing what you got wrong, and then maybe making a flashcard. I use Anki. Anki is basically like a flashcard system. It's very good. Yeah. And I used it for the psychology section, basically because there's a lot of terms.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to remember all of them. So I only used it for that. And also I put in like flashcards of things that I got wrong, like in Your World, in practice test, so I can like remember them. Yeah, that was it. And yeah, basically you need to treat the AMC practice exams as the real exam, because my score was really close to what I got.
So you'd say they're accurate?
They're accurate, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I think I scored within 1 or 2 points of what I was getting on AMC.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're pretty accurate as well.
Yeah.
So what about you? Any other advice?
I mean, I pretty much went about it the same way as Rodnell. Because the sections are, I think, an hour and a half each, right?
Yes,
Like
it's been a while.
Oh.
I don't know.
90 minutes,
like
I don't know.
90, or
I
like
think that sounds right.
120, something like that.
I remember
So,
that was 60 questions.
I remember when I first started doing, like, even just practice problems on UWorld, I would try to work and be focused for an hour or 20, and then take a little break. I pretty much just like built up my stamina up until I could like focus concretely for like 6 to 7 hours. My experience was a bit different because I had been removed from college for a year, and so I needed to relearn a lot of the things that I learned in college. So I did do a bit of content review, probably a little bit more than a month, which was almost completely useless, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, like, if somebody wants to do a shotgun approach at studying for the MCAT, just start doing practice problems. It's going to be super uncomfortable. You're not going to know a lot. You're going to not get a good score, but you're going to learn the most, and it's going to increase your score the most in, like, the shortest amount of time, I think.
It's efficient.
Yeah. But to Rodnell's point about, you know, training for a marathon, I think that's exactly what it is. You build up little by little until you feel comfortable with taking a 7-hour exam, and then if you get into medical school, there's only more exams to come. There's step 1, step 2, step 3. There's boards every so often.
You can't get caught up in it because it's just gonna keep coming up.
Exactly. And then the last point that I'll say when you're studying for the MCAT or really any test is you gotta be good to yourself as well. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to like do something that's going to get your mindset in a good place, whatever that may be to each individual person. I think you really have to learn how to relax sometimes, because your brain can't be on overdrive for 4 months straight. So that's my 2 cents about it.
Appreciate that. Last question about the MCAT, I promise.
Yeah, I'm getting like PTSD here. MCAT, oh my god.
People tend to report hitting walls at some point
right.
with this exam. They continue studying, content review, practice questions, whatever it is. They just hit this wall where their score's not going anywhere. Is this an experience any of y'all had? And if so, how did you work through that, both psychologically and like sort of changing up your strategy to maybe see some improvement?
I think for me, I think it was like when I started taking the AMC exams. I remember that the first one was way lower than I was expecting, like the shooting like for my goal score, you know, and that was a little bit discouraging. And I was like, okay, no worries, like this is only one exam. Let's see what we got wrong, you know. And that's the most important thing, I think. Like, you just go back, check your answers, why you got it wrong. Is it because you were like speeding, like you were so anxious that you were going so fast and throwing like away answers that didn't have any sense? That happened with me like in cars. It may be like also you didn't read very well question.
Happens.
Yeah, that happened to me too. So basically, like, don't be like don't be sad about it. Like, okay, I got a bad score. What I'm gonna do about it? And you're gonna go back, check where you got wrong, and then do it right the next time, you know. So I think that's how the best way to see it, you know.
Yeah, I struggled with the Chem Phys section, and I felt like I was hitting a wall there. And so I was using Anki to study for all of the formulas, because there's so many formulas you got to study for. And I remember that instead of doing that, I actually wrote them down. I had like 400 flashcards of formulas, maybe less, probably less, maybe like 200 of formulas for physics specifically and chem. And then I would review them every night for like an hour or two, just so they were fresh. Like, that's what I needed to see them every single day to remember them. And then that's kind of when my score started to get hot.
Can I comment on that real quick?
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful point, especially in medical school. Like, you'll see if people get into medical school, if you're in medical school listening to this, whatever, there's so many resources. There's so many things to get through your coursework, to get through material, that in this like aura of complicated techniques and like extra tools to go through content, you're overcomplicating yourself, and it ends up being like harder on yourself. Sometimes going back to that paper, pencil, simple strategy,
you do that
really
all the
nice.
time. Yeah. I don't take notes. I don't think I've taken notes for the past 6 months in medical school, to be honest. But Sebas is big on the pen and paper, which I respect. But yeah, I guess the broader advice is to find something that works for you and to stick to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, don't be discouraged if you get a bad score. Even if you take it and you don't get a good score. Like, we have brilliant classmates that had to take it twice, and they're some of the smartest people in our class. So, you know, it's going to be one of those barriers. It's just going to be another barrier in your medical career that you're going to have to overcome. And you will if you have the right mindset.
Yeah, you can't let as much as you can't let standardized test taking sort of define you.
Right.
100%.
How much you're valued.
And that happened to me, like, in the car section. I was so frustrated because it was so difficult for me, like...
Dude, it was difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm on that.
I still don't understand why they use it.
Yeah, to get a good score. And the thing is, like, I was struggling even to get, like, you know that there's, like, a 50 percentile. It was 125.
Yeah.
I was even struggling, like, to pass that. And to be honest, like, even my score, my final score, I didn't pass that. I had, like, 123 in that section. I was so sad about it, but I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And then it worked. Like, many medical schools gave me an interview, and that's when I saw, like, okay, like, medical schools really care about your whole story. It's not like there's this myth that, like, you need 125 in each section to be competitive. That's totally not true.
Yeah, or 132. Some people.
Yeah.
You know. Honestly, once you get into medical school, no one talks about the MCAT. Nobody cares.
Maybe it'll be like a conversation, like first week. That's it. But that never comes up.
I never even remember talking. I mean, we've like touched upon it briefly, but more about like the experience of studying for it.
Yeah.
But nothing like,
it
what was
there.
your score? Like, no one really cares. No one cares about what you got in your MCAT.
I agree.
You know. Yeah, let's talk about medical school now.
I agree.
Our first year,
that's
we're almost
exactly
done.
where I was going now.
Yeah, let's put the MCAT in the past.
Let's put that in the past. So, guys, we're almost a year into medical school so far. Insane. Just tell me, like, what's the experience been like so far? What do you think? How's med school?
I think so far it has been better than expected. I think from my point of view, because I was expecting that I will have like zero social life, like I will have no time like free time for me or anything. But I think it usually like varies between the medical school. Like here in Sinai, they have a very good flexible curriculum.
Right.
Basically, to give you an overview, like we have some mandatory classes that we go, but most of them that are lectures basically are recorded, or you're basically like, some people don't see them at all. Like basically we are right now in microbiology and we only use sketchy.
Most of us,
We don't see lectures. So that's a pretty flexible curriculum. Also, the exams, it is on the weekends and it is online. So that's a pretty flexible curriculum. And I'm from Puerto Rico and I really go very often to Puerto Rico, like
probably too often.
Yeah.
Like every month maybe. So yeah, it's pretty flexible and I'm really like surprised about the flexibility that we have right now in medical school. And if I compare it to college, I have a pretty good life, like a better life here than college. Because if I think about it, like in college I had like 8 to 7 classes with labs. Like it was basically like weekly minimum 3 quizzes and then plus exams. It was a lot going on. Like extracurriculars. It's a lot. And here it's like, it's a lot of content.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a lot. But the thing is, like, you have only one objective. Like, for example, this week, our only objective is the quiz.
It's to pass the quiz, yeah.
Yeah, it's pass and fail.
Yeah.
Pass and fail.
It's pass, fail, everything, which is really nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Mateo?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, both of us, because Rodnell didn't mention this, but he was a sprinter in college, so he was a student athlete as well, which adds a level of complexity towards balancing, athletics in school. I played soccer in college as well, and that was crazy. Like my day-to-day was insane in college in order to get the grades that I needed to get into medical school. And now that I'm here, the only thing I really focus on is school, and like a subcomponent of that is research as well, which is kind of like extracurricular. And then
we'll get to that.
Yeah. And then I try to do my best to stay fit. And I always tell myself, like, you're still an elite athlete. You're just an elite athlete in medical school. So I try to like keep myself accountable to the same standards that I had when I was playing. But the only thing that I'm focusing on now is medical school and to someday be an MD. So to that extent, it's a lot easier. The other thing that I think is different is that once you get into medical school, especially at Mount Sinai, I can't speak for the other schools, it feels like everyone around you, all of the faculty, all of your professors are here to help you. And that's not an experience that I had when I was in college. Sometimes I felt like people were kind of out to get you. There was this whole mentality of like weed out classes and stuff like that.
Orgo.
No one's trying to, Orgo, exactly. No one's trying to like weed you out here. Everybody's trying to help you succeed. And so whether that means you have to get an accommodation on exams because you have like test anxiety, which is very common. Or a wedding, or whatever. Everyone here is gonna help you. They'll extend the deadline of a quiz, or they'll help you with your individual situation, which is a support that I didn't feel like I had when I was in college. So that's been very refreshing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that point. Now, I want to make a point on stuff that sort of contaminates social media all the time.
Okay.
It's this idea of like toxic productivity. Have you all heard of that?
Okay, yeah. So like not being able to chill.
Exactly. So, or we're just in this era where we're expected to do everything. You're expected to be fit. You're expected to cook for yourself, have like a great diet.
Yeah.
Do multiple activities, hobbies, do great at school, do your research, whatever. Especially in medicine, very competitive environment. How do you guys go about navigating this energy? that sort of contaminates us sometimes. You know, we're also real. You can't do everything.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think you need to give yourself like a break. You deserve a break always. Like if you're studying very hard, and you're tired, just take a break. Do whatever makes you happy. For us, like go to the gym, go take a walk at Central Park, go out with the friends, and give yourself like a break. Like you deserve it because, yeah, sometimes society expects that you become a robot, basically, and we're humans. We are allowed to get tired. We're allowed to, like, we have a limit, you know. So I think the thing is like we should have like a perfect balance, like to do what we're supposed to do, like medical school, but also to do the things that makes you happy, you know. And I think you need to allow yourself to do that, and it's all okay. Like everyone needs a break. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it is tough. Like we're surrounded with so many impressive people. All of our classmates here are super impressive. They all have super unique stories. And sometimes you can get lost in that comparative like mindset where you do start comparing yourself and what you're doing to those around you. And as much as you tell yourself to not get into that headspace, like you do. And I have before with my classmates, and sometimes there's been times where you feel like, oh, you're not doing enough, or you're not good enough. Especially when I first got here, it was like, you know, it was crazy. Everybody here is, I've said this before, but like, you know, a lot of our classmates come from Ivy League schools, and I had this notion that people that went to Ivy League schools or these big name schools were like smarter and better. And don't get me wrong, they're all fantastic and super intelligent, but that doesn't mean that I don't belong here because I didn't have that experience. And I think it takes some time. You know, the first couple months you'll definitely feel that imposter syndrome, then you start getting into a groove. You start realizing or recognizing the cues of when you do need to take a break, like Rodnell said, or do something that is fun, or just go out and socialize or whatever. You start learning a lot more about yourself as you go through the journey, and I think it's one that we're gonna keep like evolving as we go. I mean, we're only finished our first year. You know, there's gonna be many more setbacks in the future. But hopefully, little by little, we start learning a lot more about ourselves and about what we need from a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that honesty from both of you.
Yeah, that happened to me too. Like imposter syndrome. When I got here, like everyone was like, "Yeah, I'm from Yale. I'm from Harvard. I'm from."
Yeah. I was like, "Oh my god."
Yo,
half of the class from Penn.
UPR Mayagüez.
Yeah.
They were like, "What?"
Yeah. Shout out to UC Santa Barbara. Yeah, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. Such great points. You mentioned something really, really interesting. The importance of socializing, or like remaining social in med school. I mean, obviously everyone's different. Some people, you know, like to have their space.
Right.
Probably don't want to hang out as much as others.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to get this idea from y'all. How important has socialization or like having a nice community been for you while in med school?
I think overall it has been like a very big component, because I think for me, I don't want to be like alone in this journey, you know. It is so hard like to go by like alone, and I think you need to find like your people, like who do you like to hang out with, and basically like do different things, like different activities, like study in groups, go out in groups, like, and that really like is gonna alleviate like the stress, because you're not doing it alone, you know. Like you have other people, you're seeing other people do the same thing that you're doing, so it's like okay, like you feel like less stressful, you know. So
Right.
Yeah, I think I think it's very important in medical school to find your family, to find your community. I mean, obviously, you can be friends with everybody in the class, but there's some people that you're going to naturally gravitate to, and that happens in every social setting. And I think it's really important to find that family, to find that support system early, because they serve as people who you can talk to when you're having a tough time, or a lot of the times it's also motivation. Like you might feel tired, but then you see that people, like those around you are getting it done that day, and you're like, you know what, they're getting it done, I'm gonna get it done. And it's kind of this,
It can be contagious.
it can, yeah, it's this contagious nature of bettering yourself every day. And I think it's really important to have that support system and that team around you to help you do it. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm somebody who can't sit in my room for more than 2 hours without going out and socializing to someone. That's why I wanted to get into medicine, because I couldn't see myself in a 9-to-5 stuck in a cubicle. Like, there was no way. I wanted to be talking to people.
Absolutely.
I wanted to be working in teams, and I thought medicine provides a very beautiful path towards doing that on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah. Great point from both of y'all. I mean, I guess none of us are superstars or anything, but I think the people want to know, what's a day in the life like for both of you? Like, just walk me through that hourly breakdown of what you do on a weekday
right.
while in med school.
Yeah. Okay. So I usually wake up, like, let's say if we have a mandatory class, 10 a.m. I wake up like at 9 a.m., take a shower, have some breakfast, then go to a mandatory class. Yeah, after that, like right now with microbiology, I'm mostly like using Anki, using Sketchy. So basically like doing some Sketchy and Anki to get it done. And after that, I do like some hours of research. And then when I get so tired about it, I want to take a break and go to the gym. Like I always go to the gym every day.
Of course.
Yeah, Rod does not skip the gym.
You too, bro. None of us. So, yeah, we go to the gym, and yeah, after that, like we have dinner, and then keep grinding until like 9 p.m. maybe. Then sometimes we watch a movie, and that's it for the day.
Yeah, I mean, I have a really similar breakdown. I'm a bit more of an early riser because my brain shuts off at like 8 p.m. I, like, can't do anything past 8 p.m. pretty much. So I usually try to get my day started around 7:30. Hop on Anki, do my reviews, all the boring stuff that people probably don't want to hear about. Study, go to the mandatory things that we need to go to, and then go to the gym as well. It's a big part of who I am and who I want to be. I want to be fit for as long as possible. And then,
You're clearly doing something right.
Yeah. and then, I mean, we're very creative in the way that we kind of spend our social time. Like, one of my most favorite things that we do, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, is like we sometimes we'll cook for each other, and we'll have a group of like 10 to 12 of our friends come over, and we'll just hang out that night and talk about our week and have fun and laugh. Or we'll go out. We live in New York, so we go out. We go catch
You have to. Shout out to the Delancey.
Yeah. We'll go to some reggaeton concert, or not concert, sorry, club, and just try to be in New York in our early to mid to late 20s, which we should all kind of enjoy. So it depends on the day, but usually it goes something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now the big questions.
Okay.
Big questions. Coffee, tea, Red Bull, Monster. What are we doing to stay?
You can't put Red Bull and Monster in there.
I mean, I have to.
You're gonna
might as well include it. Some people use it.
What about Celsius, bro?
What about what?
Celsius.
Celsius. Wait, I forgot about Celsius.
You're gonna wake up and the first thing you're gonna do is crack a Red Bull.
I'm sure someone out there does that.
You know what? If Red Bull wants to sponsor us, then I'll start doing that. But right, Rod.
Definitely coffee. Coffee, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I'm Colombian, as I said. If I didn't drink coffee, I think there'd be a problem with that. I'm a big coffee drinker. What about you?
I think you already know the answer to that.
Yeah, I know, but like everybody else doesn't know.
Well, we have some tea, like, to sleep, like, yeah.
The chamomile,
Chamomile.
not bedtime, whatever it's called. I don't know. It's really good. We make it for each other as well, which is really wholesome sometimes.
Yeah.
Tea time.
We do wholesome stuff.
Yeah, wait, tell us about tea time. What is that?
So, yeah, we have this this
Tradition?
two or three times a week. We invite our friends over for tea time at about 9 or 10 p.m. and we kind of digress and drink tea together and just chill, relax,
Nice.
and talk about funny things. There's a lot of funny things that happen in medical school. There's a lot of tea to be spoken about. So sometimes we'll do that.
Absolutely. A lot of tea going around during tea time. But I'm gonna shift to something maybe a little more serious. Anatomy lab. Our first experience in medical school.
Oh, yes.
A big thing. First time you get to see, experience, interact with someone's body. It's a powerful experience. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was very impressive because, you're basically like cutting in a human being, and that was like a first time experience for me. And like just to think that this person was alive and then donated like this body like for us medical students to know more about the organs and all of that, it's like, wow, it's very impressive. It's a very impactful experience. Definitely like it helped me like for my learning experience, like to see how the liver looks, lungs, like every day it was like an amazing experience. Like, oh, we're gonna see the brain today, we're gonna see the liver. Like it was great. So I think it's like one in a lifetime like experience for sure. And I think it was great like to have it the first semester of medical school. It was like, welcome to medical school, like this is how it is, like this how you guys gonna become a doctor. So I think it was a very unique experience, and I really value that. And I really respect the people that donate bodies to this experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think every day that I went in there, I tried to appreciate that there was somebody that was a mom, a dad, a grandma, a loved one that was kind enough to donate their body for our learning, for my learning. It was such a huge privilege. It was such a huge privilege to be able to appreciate the like human anatomy in that way. And the fact that it was our first medical class was a bit shell-shocking. Like, I remember the first day that we went in there.
For sure.
You gotta get used to the smell.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a smell that you'll never forget. And then I think as you go on in anatomy, you become better at appreciating everything that you're looking at. I find myself getting really good at like identifying certain structures. And I think that experience, for me at least, solidified the fact that I potentially want to go into surgery, because I would love to be doing that and not just kind of, just appreciating anatomy, but fixing things and knowing where things are. And we had it was insane how great our mentors were. Like, one of our mentors helped Dr. Netter do the Netter, the famous Netter books.
Shout out to Dr. Laitman.
Yeah, and they were so great. So I mean, I know it was a bit frustrating sometimes because it's hard to be like super organized in an anatomy lab. So it was frustrating for a lot of folks, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it in retrospect.
No, I have to agree. What an experience. Every day, as you mentioned, I went in there. I was just grateful for having that experience, having the impact of going through someone's body, of understanding these structures through someone else's physical self, it's just very, very impactful experience. You got to wave hello at the vagus nerve.
Yeah, Dr. Lehman. Oh my goodness.
Big Mama.
I still like find myself thinking about when like as we went through our other classes and we were learning about like, you know, liver function or kidney function or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I still thought to times where I was in anatomy lab, like physically looking at these things, or when we're learning how to do the physical exams, I still go back to times where I'm like, oh, wait, okay, this is where this was, and this is why we're doing this. So although it seems random sometimes in there and unorganized, like things do stick with you. At least they did for me. I don't know if it was the same thing for you guys.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess something that's not really talked about in medicine as much as at least I would like is the change in perspective with regards to death
Right.
that comes with understanding all of these ways that you can leave this world.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could just generate fear, straight up fear, as you learn more and more about the body, more and more about the bugs that could become pathogenic,
Yeah.
more and more about the so many ways in which your body can go wrong.
I think there's like a psychological name for that, for when medical students start feeling like exactly what you just said. I don't remember the name of it, but it's very real. I mean, like I've, self-diagnosed myself with so many things already. I think it's because we know just enough to be scared, but we don't know enough to feel okay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's not reassuring yet.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, it does change your perspective on things a lot.
What about you, Rodnell? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like, for example, right now for microbiology, like, I'm so scared to touch things. There's so many bugs and, like, there's so many conditions. And, yeah, like...
You won't see me in the subway without a mask anymore.
I noticed that when we went on the subway, you were wearing a mask.
No way.
Bro, yeah, there's so many stuff that you can get that you're scared. But, yeah, I think that's part of medical education, like, to learn about it, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully that kind of goes away.
Yeah, hopefully.
But
you'll forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, I think at the moment we know enough to become scared, not enough to reassure yourself of anything. But at some point, it's probably just like protective. You kind of just relax because you know what's common, what's not, and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. My preceptor, my preceptor's an infectious disease doctor, just for context, and she told me that she's never really felt scared about being like in a room with like a TB infected patient, tuberculosis infected patient, or any of the other really scary bugs.
Yeah.
So I think at some point you kind of understand the mechanisms of how things are like transmitted and how things happen, and it's a probabilities game always with medicine, and you trust in the chances that if you protect yourself the right way, you're going to be okay. But it's definitely scary.
I agree. Guys, let's move on to specialty interests. I know it's early in the career. I mean, we haven't even finished our first year, but so far, what are y'all interested in? What do you want to go into? What do you think you're going to go into? What are you working towards?
Yeah.
Ortho bros.
Yeah, both of us. We're both. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are both interested on orthopedic surgery. Right now, like, we're not that set 100% like sure, but I think for me, what I like about orthopedic surgery is like I definitely want surgery, but I really want a good lifestyle, So I think like orthopedic surgery has a very good balance, like to have like a family and having the time to spend with the family, but also have some time to spend in the OR, in the clinic. And the things like how great it is, like the patients in orthopedic surgery, it is easy to correct what they have. If they have a broken bone, just go to the OR, fix it, and then like 1-2 months, they're great. Like you see that difference. So it's very impactful, and the patients are very grateful for what you did in the OR. So it's great. And for me, it was very important, like to combine, but because I was in track and field, so for me it was very important to combine like sports and medicine. If there was a way to combine those, like I was gonna be 100% happy. And for me, like right now, I know that it's way far ahead, but I'm thinking like orthopedic surgery, like subspecialty, like in sports medicine, maybe like to work with student athletes or something.
How many years are we looking at there for those that are not familiar with the process?
It's like 7 years, maybe.
I think 6.
6 years.
So that's
Five for ortho.
Let's start with
and
undergrad.
one.
Let's make the count from undergrad.
Oh.
How many years is that?
It's a lot.
4, 8, and then 6. 14.
Yeah. 14 years of training
Wow.
until you're a board certified orthopedic surgeon with a subspecialty or with a fellowship in sports medicine.
That's a lot.
A lot of years.
It's a lot, but I think it's worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm interested in orthopedic surgery for many of the same reasons as Rodnell. I had, just being an athlete my whole life, I saw so many of my teammates and myself, like I had a few injuries too where I had to consult orthopedic surgeons. And I just saw how they were able to go in there, fix whatever it was, whether it be like a torn ACL or a torn meniscus or something like that, and help these athletes who are aspiring to be professional athletes or who are aspiring to get to a higher level or whatever it may be, help them get back on track and help them fulfill their dreams. So and because of my understanding of sports and particularly the psychology of a student, of an athlete who's injured, I would love to be able to help that population. I'm a little conflicted too because one of my main reasons for getting into medicine was working with underserved populations. Mm-hmm. So it's still something that I'm kind of figuring out, but hopefully I can combine the three.
I think you absolutely will.
Somehow, we'll see.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You want to talk about yours?
Sure. Kind of on the fence between urology and ortho. Big influence from these two. But I think I've been inclining myself more toward urology. I really like the pathologies that they deal with, the combination of medicine and surgery. It's really optimal. And also just personal experiences that have sort of strayed me in that direction. And I'd like to think that, I'm a very spiritual man, that God sort of helps you see that path sometimes, and I've been able to interpret some signs in my life, and I think it's a good path for me, and I want to further explore it, so I'm on that path right now.
It's crazy because sometimes you're so influenced by the people around you in ways that those people don't even know. Like if anybody just guides you 5 degrees in one way, you can completely go down a different pathway. So it is really important to surround yourself with, or to be mindful of who you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think we're all really great influences on each other, so very grateful for it. Guys, I want to kind of stray in the direction of some other things in med school. What are your reflections on first year? Do you feel tired? Do you feel revitalized? Do you feel like you've learned a lot? How do you feel?
I think for me, I feel that I learned a lot. It was a lot this year.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. But in a point, we had fun also, Yeah. We had free time, we were able to.
Shout outs to the Lancey.
Second time. We had free time, but also I think so far, first year has been great. Meeting new people, 100%. Being in a new environment, 100%. Because, yeah, I lived in PR my whole life, and it was, to be honest, that I think now of it, like, it was scary. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to New York, like, let's do it. But then, like, a week before, I was like, wow, I'm going to New York, like, to live.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And yeah, like, it was a very, I would not say that it was hard transition, but it was a very drastic transition.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Being in Puerto Rico and then come here, New York, very busy. But yeah, so far it has been great. Meeting new people, meeting you guys, it has been super great. And yeah, like, I think at this point, we are all tired. Like, we just want to get first year, like, finish.
Yeah.
One more week. And then get started with the summer. Like,
With summer break.
Summer break.
AKA research.
Because, yeah, we technically have, like, a break, but we're supposed to do, like, research if we want to be competitive too.
Well,
You just have to do it.
Yeah, it's a graduate. It's a
Requisite.
it's a prerequisite for
Yeah,
graduating.
true.
We all need to
Yeah.
do research at some point. So
So we actually need it. So yeah, we're gonna do research where we're gonna have, like, free time to enjoy some summertime. So excited for it.
yeah. I guess my reflections on first year was I was kind of scared about moving to New York a little bit, or not scared, but I didn't know what to expect. Everybody's like, oh, you're moving to New York. It's like, the big city. Like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, whatever. All that stuff that you hear about in the movies. So it was definitely a little bit daunting, but I trusted myself that I was going to be able to I knew that I was going to be okay because I had lived in so many places, and I've had the experience of being in a place not knowing anybody, like 2 or 3 times already. So, like, I knew I was going to be okay in that sense. Academically, it was a bit of a rough transition for me because I had been out of school for 2.5 years. So that was a bit tough to get that, like, mental stamina back. But it's been a great year. We've learned a lot. I've forgotten a lot as well. Like,
that's true. We've learned so much, but we've probably forgotten more.
Yeah, like I think exactly. But, like, you're supposed to forget. You can't remember everything. It's so much. It's just about having a recognition of things. And I think that Sinai has done really well at doing that. I definitely feel more confident in myself and my ability to be a doctor, to get into medicine, to someday be somebody's physician. Big shout out to EHOP. That was a great experience. We didn't speak about that. EHOP is the student clinic here at Sinai that's completely run by students, and we've been able to, all 3 of us have been able to.
It's wonderful.
To help in some way patients that don't have any medical insurance. So that's been a great experience, and it's one that grounds me every single time I go. So, I mean, yeah, it's been a great year. I've met great people, and I can't wait for the next 3 years.
It's going by fast.
Yeah,
going by really fast.
Yeah, it is going by really fast.
As long as it seems, you can count the years, 14 years, whatever, for what you want to end up doing. It just goes really fast. So you have to learn how to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
As cringy as that sounded, a cliche, whatever. You have to learn how to enjoy the ride. And I think both of y'all have definitely been part of that for sure.
Yeah, I think we're so stuck on, like, okay, yeah, like for us, like, oh, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. I want to match into an orthopedic residency. Yeah. And that's like, you wake up thinking about that or whatever. And sometimes, as cliche and as cheesy as this sounds, like, you do have to stop and smell the flowers. And, like, you're not there yet. And you're supposed to enjoy the process of getting there. So. Yeah,
maybe I'm getting too philosophical and everything, but it's all we have. It's this minute right now. Like,
Yeah.
It's all you have. You don't have what happened, and you also don't have what's gonna happen. Like, none of that is in your control.
Yeah.
It's either already happened or it hasn't even happened.
Yeah.
So you have to, go a day at a time. I think I went to a doctor once, and he gave me this really great advice. I'll say it in Spanish. He said, "El futuro es ansiedad, y el pasado es depresión." I think it captures life in a great way, and it sort of encourages you to live the present.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, really
And
important.
that's just to translate it, the future is anxiety and the past is depression. It's true. It's very true. And we've definitely learned how to live more in the present. Like yesterday, we all dropped our books at a dime and went to a berries class with our other classmates, which was great. And we ended up feeling amazing after that. So it's about taking those little moments when you can,
Yeah. Shout out to Barry for those showers, really good.
Great showers.
Great showers out there.
Dyson flower.
Shout out to Chipotle for the post-workout meal as well.
Yes.
Guys, we're in a time in medical training where we're in sort of this transitional period. I believe a year ago or a couple years ago, step 1 became pass-fail.
Right.
Sort of shifting the needle to making step 2 more important in matching. And now there's this sort of pressure on doing other things
Yeah.
that make you stand out, boost your ethos, whatever you want to call it. And that one thing that I believe a lot of us can agree on is research,
Yeah. It's the name of the game right now.
the name of the
Yeah.
game. Can y'all share your thoughts? Just go off on a tangent. I don't know, whatever you want to say regarding your experience so far with research, how much you like it, if you like it at all, how tough it is to get involved,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. I think for me, I got a little bit anxious at first when I got here because, I didn't know the game. Like, before getting to medical school, I was like, okay, let's go. And then when I got here, they were like, okay, like, the only way to stand out is research. Like, the classes are pass or fail. There's no, like, GPA. So, also the step 1 is pass and fail. The step 2 has a score. So that's, like, one way to differentiate yourself. But still, like, I have heard, like, from some faculty, like, it's basically like a check mark. Once you pass the threshold of the step 2, it's like, okay, you did it well. So one way that you can differentiate is research. And I was very anxious because before medical school, I didn't have any research, any publications. I didn't know how it worked,
Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
Really is.
Yeah, 100%. And it was difficult, like, to figure out how I can get a publication, because that's the end goal, the number of publications that you have. And that's very sad because, like, sometimes it talks, people define you like by the number of publications that you have.
Yeah.
And that can give you, like, anxiety 100%, because when we decided to be like to pursue orthopedic surgery, they tell us like, okay, that's a very competitive specialty. You need to start research like
Right away.
ASAP.
Yeah.
ASAP.
From day one.
They want, like, get on it. And then you reach out to different faculty, like, you don't know who to reach out. You just search,
Yeah.
like, throw
That's true.
like random emails. Hey, my name is Rodnell Busigó. I'm MS1. I'm just looking for research opportunities. 90% of the faculty, like, doesn't respond to you at all. Or some of them, like,
Yeah.
they're like, okay.
Or it's like a prospective randomized 5-year control study. You can't do anything with.
Yeah.
No, 5 years. So some of them, like, they really respond, and they're really great. Some of the faculty here are super great, are good mentors that give you different opportunities for research. But definitely like at first it was like so random. Like what do I do? Like right now I think we have a pretty good picture about how research works. And it is a very difficult process because you put in the work, you put in a lot of work in research, and the thing is like to get a reward from it takes a long time,
Yeah.
a really long time.
It takes a really long time.
And the things like it is so different like from when you're taking classes. Like say you're taking a class, you study very hard for a test, you take the test, you have the reward. Like you basically
you
pass.
get your
Yeah.
score immediately.
Right
At
away.
least in our case.
Yeah,
For some of us, I think personally, it gives me satisfaction to see a good score.
yeah,
I think everyone feels that way.
yeah. So
But in research, it's different.
it's different. Like the thing is like, okay, it gives you a reward. So that reward, what was I remember that the MCAT, it was like one theory, psychology, like gives you a reward, so you're more prone to do it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
That
I
was
remember
So far,
it.
but yeah.
Skinner, like,
I don't know. Yeah.
You remember it? Come on.
Whatever. Whatever it is. Stop talking about the MCAT.
yeah, we already moved away.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you have a reward, so you're like more motivated, like to keep going, to keep studying, you know. So research is super different because you're putting in the work, but you're not having like any reward at all. Like you just
At least in the short term.
Yeah.
at least in the short term. Yeah, 100%. Like to get a let's say a publication, yes, it has to be like 1 year.
I don't know, but we've worked. I think we've all worked on upwards of 8-9 projects, and nothing has panned out.
No.
So it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely very frustrating. Yeah, I came into medical school without doing much research either, so I wasn't aware of like the lay of the land, and you also come into an environment with a lot of new people, a lot of different mentors, and I think that the most important thing is to find the people that are willing to help you and that are willing to kind of walk you step by step, and be patient with yourself, because
Yes.
like we haven't gotten anything yet, and we've put in so many hours of work
Yeah.
into research and nothing has panned out yet. But you know, hopefully it does within the next few months, maybe next year or whenever it is, and I think as long as you're putting the effort in, like you will be okay. You know, you might have to take a research year, who knows? I don't know. We're not there yet. But you just try your hardest, and you try to find good people to support you, and that's what you have to focus on, I guess. And also like try at least to find something that like vaguely interests you, because it makes research a lot more doable. Like when you do projects that you have no interest in, it's just like
So
pulling
hard.
teeth.
Yeah.
It's not fun. So don't jump into anything just because. Really identify your passions and try to work towards it, and propose things too. Like, you know, I think when I first got here, I had no idea of how to propose a project or how to go about like fleshing out an idea, and by being here and doing research throughout the past year, like I'm a lot more confident in like maybe like going to a research mentor and being like, look, I read all of these papers, this is kind of what the lay of the land is, what do you think about this idea, can we pursue it? And you know, if you have good people around you, they'll give you good advice, and hopefully you can publish something that is of interest to you and useful for other people as well. So yeah, we're still all waiting for that first pub.
Yeah, we are. But I think another good piece of advice is work with people.
Yes.
Work with people. Like it'll make it more interesting, fun.
Yeah.
If that could be said at all, and it'll just make the experience a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Because also it's weird because as a first year, you're learning about the femur, the tensor fascia lata, whatever.
Yeah.
And then G6PD deficiency, cryptococcus, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you go and you read a paper and they're mentioning some technical stuff that took a guy 10 years to work out. So you feel like removed from that.
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard. But when you tackle situations that are that uncomfortable with someone else, it makes the experience a lot better. I don't know if y'all...
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, we've put each other on a bunch of our paper, or like perspective papers,
Yeah.
perspective projects. I think it's important to work with each other, and it's really important to like help each other out too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe Rod or Sebas has an idea, and then I hop on it, and then maybe I have an idea and they hop on it, and with our other classmates as well. And it's just having somebody to dialogue with that makes it like less grueling,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. I think it's very important to not compete with your peers. And I think Sinai does a very good job.
They do a good job of that.
Yeah, because by putting it like pass and fail, basically you eliminate that. And yeah, like us as students, we help each other in all the ways possible. And yeah, I think one tip that I would suggest medical students is try to go like to a medical school that is pass and fail, because the competition, it is basically zero. Like,
Yeah.
so that was one of the reasons also that I wanted to come here, United States, to study medicine, because there was a lot of resources for research, and also there was zero competition because it was pass and fail in Puerto Rico. Like, it is A, B, C, so you need to study a lot to get that A, you know. So
Yeah, I think one last piece of advice regarding research I would say is that, like, you don't have to find the head doctor for neuro, orthopedic, vascular, pediatric surgery to be your mentor, because that person is great, but they're probably way too busy for you. Like, even second years, even your peers. Like, I'm working with a second year on a project, and like in my eyes, he's like a mentor because he knows so much. He's been through what I'm kind of going through, and like he helps me out so much. So like even your classmates could be mentors. You don't have to go to like, you know, the top person.
100%.
You know?
And yeah, we can first think that it can be like the head person that has the best advice, but basically that person doesn't have too much time for you. Like, you just gotta find one person that is interested on students to and also to mentor you. So I think that's very important. It's very also difficult because many faculties like busy with all, because they're physicians, so they're doing research, and to have one-on-one meetings with you is like difficult. But if you find that, like, value that and try to have that connection like for your whole life, it's very valuable.
I agree with you. Thank you for that. Guys, in medical school, I think, in everyone's life, obviously, we have our hard days where, you know, you just don't feel as motivated. I don't know, you can feel kind of down. Your mood is not as bright as it usually is, whatever you want to call it. I want to know how you guys go about breaking that, bouncing back from difficult moments, difficult days. Just share some thoughts on how you go about that.
Yeah, that usually happen, like, I think to any medical student. That's normal to happen, like bad days. We have good days, but we also have bad days. And I think for me, what it works is like to do things that I love. You know, if I'm feeling very bad, just focus on yourself. Like, forget about school. The priority is like your mental health, you know, and just do things that makes you happy. You know, for me, what makes me happy is like go to the gym, and
I knew you was gonna say that.
Like take a walk in Central Park, or just go out with you guys, go to a restaurant to eat, Colombian restaurant, have very nice food, or also like cook ourselves.
Yeah, that's been such a therapy. Cooking. I think for all of us.
So I think it's like just doing things that makes you happy. You know, if it makes you happy, like to play an instrument, do it. If it makes you happy to go to an opera, go to a game, do that, basically, because after all the hard days that you have been putting the work, you deserve a lot, at least like one day of a break, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. I think, like I kind of mentioned it, you just got to focus on like what makes you tick. And if you have a bad day and you're not feeling well that day, then throughout the journey, like you will learn how to bounce back from those mindsets. I mean, me personally, like there's a couple of things in my arsenal that I have that could do that. One of them is the gym as well. Like, you know, I think going to the gym and staying fit is one of the like, I mean, it can really, maybe not for everybody, but for me at least, like I can be in a really shitty mood and I go to the gym, lift some weights, and I'm suddenly in a better mood. I don't know what it is about lifting heavy or like slightly heavy things. Like I don't lift that heavy, but like, you know, about lifting things for an hour that like makes you happy. I don't know. It's like primitive. It's hell, but like whatever.
It's fair.
Yeah. The other things that I do is like I call my mom. You know, she grounds me really well. So, you know, keeping in touch with family is really important. Something that I wish I did better, to be honest. I think sometimes we can get lost with like what we have going on throughout the day.
There's always time for mom.
Being around nature is also very therapeutic as well. So thankfully we're right next to Central Park and it's gorgeous. In the midst of like this concrete jungle, we have the park. So, you know, if you go out there even for 20 minutes, like it completely shift your mind frame. And then also just, I mean, for me as well, like cooking is massive. Like if I'm feeling really shitty and I make a really nice meal, just the process of it just calms me down. So that's another thing, but everybody has their own thing. So you just gotta, you know, you figure it out as you go along.
Yeah. I think it's very important to have like a support system, like supports like your family, talk to them, and they basically know you and they will tell you like, don't worry about it, like you're gonna be fine at the end of the day. And also I think one important thing is like to appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget, like we only focus on the bad things sometimes. Like sometimes we can wake up and be frustrated about research, you know.
Yeah.
But then we forget that we have the privilege to be here at this amazing medical school. Many people want to be in our positions.
Right.
So like I think we need to be grateful for that, and like just thinking of that, it will make you change your point of view. Like, okay, I feel frustrated about this one thing, but I should be grateful about what I have, you know.
Yeah.
And that can
agree.
change everything.
Taking that step back, I think it's really important.
Yeah,
I agree with
be
you.
humble.
Yeah, I saw this quote not too long ago that it was like, where you are now is where you envision yourself to be a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was like where you are now was like a dream. Your reality today was a dream a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that, you know? So I think it's
really
important
good to keep that in mind.
to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, let's close off with a lighthearted topic. We're in New York City. Really fun place to be in. What do you guys like to do for fun? You know, what do you do during the weekends? How do you exploit and make the most of New York City?
I think we go out often, clubs, reggaeton. But like besides that, like we go to try out different restaurants, Colombian, and also
Just Colombian.
That's all. Golden Corral.
Golden Corral. No, but I
Shout
really
out to
like the
Golden Corral.
Colombians one.
Yeah, he just really.
They're huge, bro.
Yeah, I know you like the portion sizes. He's
Bro,
all,
they're great.
he's all about the macros.
Yeah. But yeah, like we're in New York City. Like there's 100 things to do. So like you will never get bored. So if you have the opportunity to go to medical school here, like go for it, because you'll have a million things to do.
Yeah, I mean, what do we do for fun? I mean, we do so many things for fun. We go out often. Sometimes we go play volleyball. We're also on a soccer team. that we play in the weekends. And then
Can get surprisingly violent, unfortunately.
it does get violent, but like as it should, you know. It's a contact sport. It's a contact sport. Yeah, I mean, I really like exploring different parts of the city. I feel like being in New York City, it's like you're kind of in a sample of the global community. Like you could go to different places around the city and feel like you're in a completely new place. So that's one of the benefits of New York. There's so much diversity in culture and food and people. So I would really recommend people getting out of, if they're in New York, getting out of like, you know, your nook of the city and going somewhere completely different, because it can be like a breath of fresh air. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess something else to close off. One thing I want to do through this YouTube channel is emphasize that medical students don't have to be the productivity gurus that YouTubers tend to show often.
Oh, yeah. I don't even watch those videos.
I mean,
Screw
I guess
that.
we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We've seen at least one video. The guy that wakes up at 5 a.m. gets 2 workouts by 7,
Yeah.
hits all his macros by 8, finished Anki cars by 9, and then he's done for the day and working on his entrepreneurship, whatever.
Yeah, he runs like a non-for-profit global organization.
Exactly.
You know?
And is saving...
Or she, sorry.
I know, yeah,
Or
exactly.
she.
Doing some crazy stuff. How are you real?
I'm
How
not
are you
that.
a
I mean,
real
that's
person?
not. I don't do that. Like, I don't. You know, I'm not a productivity guru. I mean, we all try to be productive. I feel like everybody's like fairly productive, and you get better at being productive. But like, you don't have to be. That's like, I don't know. I feel like it's just robotic. You know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes.
It's just strict.
Sometimes it's okay to just chill, watch a show in the middle of the day. Relax.
And you don't have to be like that to be productive, right?
No. I mean, like, you figure it out. Every day doesn't have to look the same for you to be successful in medical school. You know.
Yeah, I think those videos are like too strict. Like, okay, at this time, you need to stop what you're doing and do this. You know, like, I really don't work like that. Like, I really like to wake up like 9 a.m. I woke up today like at 10 a.m. So,
Yeah.
Likewise.
yeah. You have different priorities, you know, in your life, and basically, you do what you want to do, like for fun or whatever. And based on that, you work your schedule, you know, like, and I think what works for me is like, okay, I wake up and I say to myself, okay, I have different goals for today. Like, okay, I have some monkey cards, I have some lectures to see. Okay, I want to see this number of lectures or do this number of monkey cards. This is my goal, and I'm gonna work for it. You know, I'm gonna achieve this thing that I need to do, like for research, write this or whatever. Like, I think that's what works for me. Like, write my goals at the start of the day, and then work hard at it, like during the day. And if I like finish early, free time, like just do whatever makes you happy, and that's it. You're done for the day. You know, like. I'm a pretty flexible guy, and I also don't use like the Pomodoro.
Yeah, I tried that, but I didn't work. That didn't work for me
Yeah.
either. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I don't use it because like it's too strict. Because sometimes I can go on like for an hour and a half, have the momentum, you know.
Yeah, it's all about momentum.
Yeah, momentum is so powerful. So if you have the momentum, just keep going. Like, if Pomodoro tells you like to stop, don't stop. Like, keep going. Like,
F Pomodoro. Who the
Who
hell
are
is
you to tell me
Pomodoro
what-
to tell me what to do?
like if you have the momentum, like keep going. Like, ignore Pomodoro.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I need to do something. Like, okay, then I stop what I'm doing and do the stuff that I need to do, and then come back and grind. You know, I think like I feel much better not having that pressure. Like, okay, you need to be focused like for half an hour. If not, you're not gonna learn anything. So it's like,
Yeah. I think Rod brought up an important point. I do the same thing where like I wake up and most days I try to write down the things that I want to get done for the day, and as I'm completing those things, I check it off, and like that's just like, okay, that's your little victory, and there's your next little victory and your next little victory, and at the end of the day you have a big victory. And so I really like that method of kind of dividing my day up and achieving the goals that I want to do for the day. But I'm also all about like the law of inertia, the law of momentum. Like sometimes I can go on for an hour or 2 hours straight and not bat an eye and get so much done. Sometimes my body's telling me like, you need to lay down for 20 minutes. Like I don't feel good. So it's all, you learn how to listen to your body as you go through it as well. And I think that's the most important thing.
I agree.
Sometimes you have to push yourself. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes like, no, like you do got to do this. Like there's a deadline for something. Like you got to do it and you got to push through that.
Buckle up and get it done.
But yeah, sometimes you do have to do that. But like, it's important to listen to your body and your mind and what they're telling you. So, yeah,
that's great advice. I kind of want to end up. This is very last thing. I feel like I've said this like 3 times. What's like a family / cultural value that you sort of re-emphasize to yourself on a daily basis that you really like care about? Something that you were raised with, that you were brought up with, that you care about, and that you try to bring about in yourself on a daily basis. And then we can close off with that.
I think for me, like, the Puerto Rican culture is very based on collectivism, like opposed to individualism. Like collectivism is mostly based on being empathic with your like with your mates, peers, and basically help each other, you know. And during difficult times, you want to be like with other people, you know, that, and also help each other, you know, and not being like alone and only doing things like for yourself and not helping out each other, you know. So I think that what my mom taught me, my dad always tried, if you have something that can help another guy, give it. Like, don't even think about it. Like, yeah. So that's all something that also draw me to medicine, to help people, you know. So yeah, that's my main value.
That's a tough question. I feel like there's a lot of things that I carry with me today that I've kind of learned along the way. I guess one of the things that I try to focus on a daily basis is that, like, I feel because of my experience and like coming from Colombia as an immigrant and having that kind of as a big part of my identity, it's like sometimes I feel like I wasn't meant to be here. You know what I mean? It's like, to some extent, like, I defeated the odds of what my life was supposed to look like, through not only through my hard work, but through those around me that have helped me so much throughout the years. So sometimes, like, if I'm really having a hard time, like, I just reflect on everything that I've been able to achieve with the help of other people, and I think back to that's like I call it my mental cookie jar. I go back to my mental cookie jar. I think about, like, the times that were tough at a certain point in my life and how I was able to overcome them, and try to extract like a mindset or something that helped me through those times and apply it to my current situation to help me through that. So that's one of the things I kind of think about on a day-to-day basis, is just like, you've made it this far and you have a whole long road ahead, but you've already been able to overcome very difficult situations, and you're going to be able to overcome this one as well. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Thank you to both of y'all. This has been a wonderful first episode, wonderful conversation. I've had a great time personally. But yeah, just thank you guys for tuning in today. Once again, this is Rodnell, Busigó from Puerto Rico, and Mateo, Restrepo, Colombia, Toronto. Thank you guys for being here. And your host, Sebastian.
Thank you.
You guys have anything you want to say to close off?
Yeti needs to sponsor us because we have three Yeti bottles here, so
You gotta stay
that's-
hydrated, right?
You gotta stay hydrated. It's true. It's true. No, thank you for having us. I really enjoyed it.
It really is a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for having us, bro.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.